For 42 years, the football fans of Western Pennsylvania lived and died with the football fortunes of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And for 4 decades, all their prayers and hopes were in vain as season after season ended in bitter disappointment. Players came and players went. Teams came and teams went. And not once during that 40-year-plus period were the Steelers able to reach out and grab that brass ring known as the NFL Championship. Down through the years, the Steelers have had their share of great names. There were full-fledged football immortals such as Bill Dudley, Byron Whizzer White, Ernie Stautner, John Henry Johnson, Bobby Lane, Johnny Blood McNally, Cal Hubbard, and Jock Sutherland. But for all their greatness, they were never able to lead the Steelers to a championship. In 1974, things were to be different. The 4-decade famine was over. The Steeler faithful who had supported the team through thick and thin were finally rewarded. Nobody was more jubilant or ecstatic over the Steelers' sudden good fortune than their #1 fan and only owner, Art Rooney.
We've had a lot of years that we had good ball clubs and we came close, but it seems as though we always waited to get beat. This year that didn't happen to us, and of course it's the most satisfying year of my life being in this business because we won.
The Steelers' rise to prominence actually began in 1969 when Chuck Noll took over as head coach. Under his tutelage, brilliant and talented players started to appear in the Steelers' lineup. On offense, there were the likes of Franco Harris, Rocky Blyer, Terry Bradshaw, Frank Lewis, Ron Shanklin, and Lynn Swan, to name a few. On defense, there was the steel curtain front four of L.C. Greenwood, Joe Green, Ernie Holmes, and Dwight White. They were backed by a brilliant trio of linebackers, veterans Andy Russell and Jack Ham, and rookie Jack Lambert. Combined with a solid defensive secondary, you had one of the most awesome and devastating defenses in the NFL. The Steelers made their first run at the championship in 1972. In the opening round of the playoffs, they were matched against the Oakland Raiders and appeared on the verge of elimination when Terry Bradshaw hooked up with Franco Harris for what was later to be known as the Immaculate Reception. It was a touchdown that will be remembered as long as the game of football is played.
22 seconds remaining. And Bradshaw is back and looking again. Bradshaw running out of the pocket, looking for somebody to throw to, fires it downfield, and there's a collision. It's caught out of the air. The ball is pulled in by Franco Harris. Harris is going for a touchdown for Pittsburgh. Harris is going. 5 seconds left on the clock. Franco Harris pulled in the football. I don't even know where it came from.
However, 1972 and 73 were the years of the Miami Dolphins, and Steeler fans suffered the anguish of knowing their team was good, but not good enough. The Steelers opened the 1974 season with a question mark over their heads. Jefferson Street Joe Gillum had supplanted Terry Bradshaw as the regular quarterback. There were those who doubted his ability to lead the team. But after Gillum led the Steelers to a 30-0 pasting of the Baltimore Colts in the season's opening game, there were few detractors left. After tying the Denver Broncos 35-35 in the second game of the season, the Steelers returned home to take on the powerful Oakland Raiders. Over the years, Steeler fans had become leery of overconfidence. And after Pittsburgh suffered a 17-0 whitewashing at the hands of the Raiders, you knew why. Suddenly, their team was no better than a 500 football club. Steeler fans had been this route before. If there is any such thing as a pivotal game, the Steelers-Houston Oilers contest of October 6th was it. With the Oilers leading 7-6 in the fourth quarter, the Steelers appeared headed for their second straight defeat. But Joe Gillum rallied his forces for an 80-yard drive that was to submerge the Oilers and bring Pittsburgh a 13-7 win. Preston Pearson was to be his main source of ammunition.
Pearson and Blyer are the running backs. Shanklin goes right, Lewis left. Here's Gilliam. Faking. He's back deep. Throwing to the far side. There's the open man. The ball pulled in inside the 20-yard line. Preston Pearson over the 15, down to the 10, and on to the 9. Pearson coming out of the backfield, going to the sideline and getting beyond his man, and finally being brought down by Willie Alexander at the 9-yard line, and a vital play, a key play for the Steelers as they have a first and goal at the Houston 9. Handoff is to Preston Pearson running to the right, turns the corner and fights his way down into the end zone. Preston Pearson running to the strong side, getting outside with Larry Brown blocking. Wades through people, goes into the end zone, scoring from 9 yards out, and there's the touchdown.
The Steelers followed up that victory by knocking off the Kansas City Chiefs 34-24 as Joe Gilliam put on a masterful passing display, tossing for 214 yards, while the defense did its share by picking off 7 passes. With their record now standing at 3-1-1, the Steelers returned home to take on their arch rivals from Cleveland, the Browns. Steelers got off to a fast start when Mike Wagner scooped up a Hugh McGinnis fumble.
And Phipps is back to throw. Phipps looking, firing, open man at the 40, straight down the middle. McGinnis with the football to the 45. He fumbles it. Mike Wagner picks it up, running to the Cleveland 40, the 35. Wagner is hit, and he's lateral it off to Glenn Edwards. And Edwards goes to the far side, and he is out of bounds inside the 30.
Then 5 plays later, Preston Pearson gave Pittsburgh its first touchdown of the afternoon.
2nd down and 6. They could actually pick up a first down inches from the goal line. Quick pitch to the left side. Ball carried by Preston Pearson. Cuts the outside, puts his head down, and dives into the end zone. Goes into the coffin corner from 6 yards out. Preston Pearson taking Cleveland Brown defensive players with him. Carrying into the end zone Van Green and Tom Darden, coming in right inside the flag.
In the second quarter, the Steelers upped the lead to 14-0.
Here's Gilliam lining them up. Gilliam gives it to Franco off the left side. He drives down. He's in the end zone, and it is a touchdown. Franco hit off the left side, cut back to his right, managed to run over Jerry Shirk and get into the end zone. Down at the bottom of the play, trying to stop him was Van Green, to no avail. So Franco Harris carries the ball into the end zone for the second Pittsburgh touchdown of the afternoon.
But the Browns battled back, and at the half, the Steelers held a slim 14-13 lead. In the second half, the defense and the place kickers took over. Roy Girella, who suffered a leg injury in the first quarter, showed that tradition was stronger than pain, as his 31-yard field goal in the third quarter turned out to be the winning margin.
And Girella will be trying from the 21-yard line, about a 31-yard attempt. Make it a 32-yard attempt as Bobby Walden adjusts. The 22-yard line. Snap. Ball is down, and it is kicked by Girella. It is long enough. It is good. 32-yard field goal. Roy Girella. And the Steelers move out to a 17-13 lead with a break in the action. We'll be right back.
The Steelers eventually beat the Browns 20-16. Coupled with Cincinnati's loss to Oakland, Pittsburgh moved into first place in the AFC Central Division to stay. Steelers continued to win the following week in a Monday night game with the Atlanta Falcons. The first half was a close-knit affair as both clubs went off tied at 14-14. In the third quarter, the Steelers moved out in front to stay. Roy Girella started things with a 33-yard field goal.
This one will be from 23 yards, the 23-yard line, 33 yards away from the goalpost. A 33-yard attempt. Girella has missed one tonight, a 35-yarder. The ball is down. Girella kicks it. And this one is good. 33 yards out. Girella hits. The score is 17-14, and Steeler football continues after this brief timeout.
Then in the fourth period, the Steelers mounted what was to be their winning drive. It was set up by a Terry Bradshaw to Franco Harris pass.
Bradshaw drops back. Now throws out to the near side. Franco pulls it in at the 30, over the 25, down to the 20, and knocked out of bounds at the Atlanta 18-yard line. Franco Harris coming out of the backfield. Bradshaw on a nice fake to Blyer. Drop back. Hit his target, Franco Harris. Clarence Ellis makes the tackle.
Then Harris, who rushed for 141 yards in this game, went the final 7 yards for what proved to be the winning TD.
Bradshaw gives the ball to Harris. He finds the opening, drives through for the touchdown. Franco Harris running to the left. Got a nice opening.
The Steelers defeated Atlanta 24-17, and the game marked the return of Terry Bradshaw as Pittsburgh's regular quarterback. But the real stars of this game were the Steeler front four of Greenwood, Green, Holmes, and White, as they harassed Falcon quarterback Bob Lee, recording an incredible 7 sacks.
Atlanta splitting it in wide to the left, flanking to the right side. Bob Lee, their quarterback, drops back deep, runs forward, caught, thrown, sacked for the 7th time tonight. Ernie Holmes made the grab on Lee. Sets up to the left, wide. Now they split. Ken Burrow to the right, the near side. Bob Lee, the quarterback, drops back to throw. Lee running. Ball knocked away from him. It's down on the turf. Who has it? L.C. Greenwood hit him. The ball is back inside the 30. Shifting from the eye. The setbacks are wide, and Lee is going back for his first throw of the night. He's being chased. He's being hit. He is sacked at the 30-yard line. Everybody had a hand on him, but the man who brought him down finally was Joe Green. The mean one got him. So Lee is sacked.
The Steelers appeared to hit high gear the following week as they routed the Philadelphia Eagles 27-0 to the delight of some 48,000 fans at Three Rivers Stadium. But if the Pittsburgh victory over the Eagles was sheer ecstasy, the loss the next week to the Cincinnati Bengals was sheer agony, as Cincy quarterback Ken Anderson riddled the Steelers' pass defense, completing 20 of 22 passes en route to a 17-10 victory that also narrowed the Steelers' AFC Central Division lead over Cincinnati to a mere half game. If the hearts of the Steeler faithful were heavy with remorse, you could hardly blame them. For next on the agenda was the Cleveland Browns, and it had been a long 10 years since the Steelers last won in Cleveland. The game with the Browns was a close-knit affair, tied at 16-16 in the fourth quarter. With the ball deep in Cleveland territory, Browns quarterback Brian Sipe collided with running back Billy LaFleur, causing a fumble. And Joe Green and J.T. Thomas were there to capitalize with a little razzle-dazzle and steer the Steelers to their first victory in Cleveland since 1964.
Here's a busted play, a fumble. Joe Green has picked up the football, laterals it off, and they're going to go for a touchdown. Green did it. Billy LaFleur fumbled the football. Joe Green lateral to J.T. Thomas, and J.T. takes it in on the lateral pass from Joe Green.
The Steelers then journeyed to New Orleans to take on the Saints in another Monday night game. Tulane Stadium was to be the site of Super Bowl IX, and the Steelers appeared to like the surroundings as they routed the Saints 28-7. Pittsburgh struck quickly in the first quarter.
Bradshaw takes. Bradshaw is deep. Bradshaw is looking. Lots of time. Fires. There's his man Lewis at the 11. Over the 10, the 5. Touchdown, Pittsburgh. Lewis running the pattern down and in. Took the ball on the run at the 11-yard line. Cutting to the far side of the field over the 5. Goes into the end zone.
Then late in the second period, Andy Russell picked off an Archie Manning pass.
Archie Manning drops back to throw. Manning chased out of the pocket, now throwing. Finds an open man. Intercepted by Andy Russell at the 30-yard line.
After having one touchdown called back, Terry Bradshaw, who was to have a spectacular night, lit out for the end zone himself.
Bradshaw backpedals straight back deep, now runs forward over the 20, the 15. He's down to the 10, the 5. He's going in for a touchdown.
Then in the third quarter, the Steelers made it 21-0 as Pittsburgh's brilliant rookie Lynn Swann showed why he was to lead the league in punt return yardage.
Backing up to take it, Lynn Swann at his own 38, running laterally out to the far sideline over the 45, the 50. Look at his speed. Here he comes down the sideline over the 30, the 20. Swann is going to go all the way for a Pittsburgh touchdown. Lynn Swann took the punt at his own 38-yard line, headed to the far sideline, and they had a lane for him. And Swann turned on the speed.
After that masterful performance against the Saints, the Steelers may have been a little overconfident, but whatever it was, they soon came back to reality when the following week they were upset by the Houston Oilers 13-10. On Sunday, December 8th, the Steelers traveled to New England to take on the Patriots. They were trailing 7-3 in the second quarter when New England's all-purpose back, Mac Herron, coughed up the football at the New England 19.
It is second down and 7. Plunkett gives the ball to Herron. Look out, there goes the little guy. He's fumbled the football, scooped up by Pittsburgh, dropped by Pittsburgh. Mel Blount had the ball, now has recovered it at the 19-yard line. Blount scooped up the fumble, started to take off with it, lost it, and then recovered it at the New England 19-yard line.
The Steelers then capitalized on their good fortune to move in for the score.
It is second down and 2. Franco Harris puts his head down and belts his way into the end zone for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers have their first touchdown of the afternoon.
Roy Girella later kicked a 27-yard field goal, and the Steelers went off at the half, leading 12-10. In the second half, Pittsburgh upped its lead to 19-10 when Terry Bradshaw hit Lynn Swann in the end zone.
And here is Bradshaw throwing for Lynn Swann. Coming down and over to the near side, diving, and what is the signal? Touchdown!
The Patriots tried to make a game of it, but pinned deep in their own territory, Jim Plunkett found out how ferocious that Steeler defense was.
It is third down 10 from the New England 1. The Patriots And here's Plunkett rolling out. They've got him, and it's going to be a two-pointer.
The Patriots eventually scored in the dying seconds of the game, but it was too little too late. And the Steelers not only had themselves a 21-17 victory, but coupled with Cincinnati's loss to the Detroit Lions, Pittsburgh was the AFC Central Division winner. The Steelers had one game left on their schedule against the Bengals, and they used it as a tune-up for postseason activities, demolishing Cincinnati 27-3. So now it was on to the playoffs for the third year in a row, but this time Steeler fans really had something to look forward to.
All right, Myron Cope, why was it a special experience? You have to take off your head, so to speak, and look inside it for the answer. And the best answer I can come up with is that broadcasting that 1974 Steelers season came as close to being the perfect job as a man has a right to expect. And it was close to perfect for two reasons. One is that doing the color and Steeler broadcasts is the only job I've ever known that sooner or later did not become work. As a writer and in later years as a sports commentator and talk show host, I've found that the constant pressure of deadlines and research takes its toll. It drains you physically and mentally, and you've got to keep reaching back for something extra, as the baseball pitchers say, in order to keep going. But to broadcast the games of a football team with which you've been involved since you were 10 years old sneaking into the ballpark free, well, that's just showing up for an afternoon of fun and getting to mouth off about it in the process. But every season, that is, every season except last, there ultimately was that one game that blew the team out, finished the season. No matter it had been a good season, that the club had reached the playoffs, you were blown out. And that's what it had all come down to, an empty feeling that comes with a job unfinished. To go all the way and escape that awful blow, well, to me, that's what it was all about, both for the player and the broadcaster. So you betcha Cope's at last known an almost perfect job, because the Steelers picked off every last kernel of corn that was on that cob.
If ever there was a sleeping giant in NFL playoff competition, the 1974 Pittsburgh Steelers were it. Most of the attention in the playoffs was focused on the Miami-Oakland game. Little heed was given the Steelers. But this was a team to be reckoned with. It was first in the NFL in rushing offense, first in the NFL in passing defense, devastating against the rush. But more important was the fact that Terry Bradshaw had emerged as the quarterback who could run, pass, and lead. For the Steelers, the playoffs opened on Sunday, December 22nd at Three Rivers Stadium against the Buffalo Bills, the AFC wildcard entry. It was the Bills' first trip to postseason competition since the 1965 season, and their jitters showed. Buffalo actually took an early 7-3 lead in the ball game, but in the second quarter, the Steelers exploded for 4 touchdowns to turn the Bills' Cinderella dream into a nightmare. Taking possession on their own 37-yard line, Bradshaw moved his troops 63 yards in just 9 plays for Pittsburgh's first score. The touchdown was set up by a key 3rd and 8 first down by Terry Bradshaw. Now we have Shanklin in the slot close on the left side, with Lewis split to the left. And here is Bradshaw faking bootlegging to the right, rolling with the ball over the 40 down to the 35. The 30 runs into his own man and goes down at the 28-yard line as he ran over Jim Clack, who was blocking in front of him. And Bradshaw tumbled to the turf at the 28-yard line. Over to cover on the play was Neil Craig, the strong safety. But for the third time this afternoon, Terry Bradshaw has picked up a first down, and that just a perfectly executed play to the right side with Bradshaw carrying the football. Rocky Blyer's determined running was a major factor in the Steelers' success. But on this play, the Rock turned pass receiver to put Pittsburgh in front to stay. Here's Bradshaw out of the pocket to the left. Lots of time firing downfield. Man open, and the ball caught by Rocky Blyer in the end zone. Blyer catches it for the touchdown as Bradshaw had time to throw. On their next possession, the Steelers moved 66 yards in 7 plays. Rookie Lynn Swann did most of the damage on this drive as he accounted for 51 yards. Pittsburgh out of the huddle. They bring Stallworth, the rookie from Alabama A&M, to the left. Sets Swann, the rookie from Southern Cal, to the right. And Swann is getting head-to-head coverage from Robert James. And here's the handoff to Swann on the end around, coming to the left over the 40, the 45, the 50, and into Buffalo territory, slips and goes down at the Buffalo 38-yard line. Jerry Mullins gave him a big block near midfield. Slot right formation. Bradshaw drops back. Bradshaw throws the ball, taken by Swan. He's over the 30, and he's down to the 26-yard line. Swan on a slant-in pattern. Takes the ball at the 30. Goes to the Buffalo 27. Nailed by Dave Washington and Jim Chiansky. Pittsburgh out of the huddle. 6:44 on the turning clock. 9-7 Pittsburgh in the second quarter. Slot left formation, running out of the I. Blyer at the top of the I. Here's Bradshaw flipping it into the left flat to Swan. Swan over the 50, the 10, the 5, inside the 5, down to the 2-yard line. Lynn Swan, the receiver. Good protection, takes it down to the 2-yard line. Jim Chiansky made the stop. Finally, Franco Harris scored his first of 3 touchdowns to give the Steelers a 16-7 lead. Bradshaw takes, gives it to Franco, dives through the middle. He's in there for a Pittsburgh touchdown. Franco Harris lumbering in by it like a big locomotive, going right through the middle and into the end zone. Buffalo took the ensuing kickoff, and on its first offensive play, Jim Braxton galloped for 30 yards, only to fumble. Ferguson is the quarterback. Ferguson gives the ball to Braxton off the left side of the 30, the 35, galloping to the 40, the big guy to the 45, the 50, into Pittsburgh territory, down to the 45, fumbles the football. Pittsburgh has recovered the football. Then in just 4 plays, Terry Bradshaw moved the Steelers 58 yards to pay dirt. The ball is at the Buffalo 38.5-yard line. Second down play. 51 seconds remaining in the second quarter. Bradshaw is back deep. Bradshaw throws open. Blyer, 34, down to the 30. And Rocky's brought down at the Buffalo 30-yard line. Hit by Dave Washington and by Neil Craig. Bradshaw back to throw. Bradshaw firing. Look out there. Swan diving. Catch at the 5-yard line. Swan takes the ball. Beats his man, Robert James, on a diving catch. A sensational grab at the 5-yard line. Here's Bradshaw giving it to Franco, driving off the right side into the end zone for the touchdown. Harris carries it over the right side, 4 yards in for the touchdown. Pittsburgh goes on the board again. There was no stopping the Steelers now. On their next possession, starting at their own 46-yard line, Bradshaw moved his team down to the Buffalo 31 when he found Larry Brown open. Again, Bradshaw drops back. And again, he throws. There it is, taken by Larry Brown at the 12, the 5, and down at the 1-yard line. Larry Brown, the tight end, breaks into the open. Then it was time for Franco Harris to tie an NFL playoff game record with his 3rd touchdown of the day. Here's the give. Franco, left side, touchdown, Pittsburgh. They didn't even bring him down. Franco Harris ran over Rex Kern and stayed on his feet for the touchdown. In the second half, Buffalo could manage only 1 TD as the Steelers coasted to a 32-14 win. So now it was on to Oakland and the big bad Oakland Raiders. During the regular season, Oakland had shut out the Steelers 17-0. But the Steelers team of that day and the one they were about to face were miles apart. This Pittsburgh club was ready, both physically and mentally. The first half was all even on the scoreboard, 3-3. But on the field of play, it was something else. The Steelers dominated both offensively and defensively. Then in the third quarter, Ken Stabler hooked up with a streaking Cliff Branch for a 68-yard touchdown, and Oakland was out in front 10-3. But this Steeler team had faced adversity before. As in the Buffalo game, they were gearing themselves for an explosion, this time in the fourth quarter. The Steelers evened things up when Franco Harris rambled over from 8 yards out.
Bradshaw fakes left, gives right. Franco goes all the way in for the touchdown. 8 yards in. Bradshaw pivoted in one direction to the left, gave it back to the right side to Franco. Harris crossed up the Oakland defense, and Harris went right through the middle, and the Steelers are on the board with a vital touchdown.
Then Jack Ham intercepted a Ken Stabler pass and returned it to the Raiders' 9-yard line.
Stabler's back to throw, and it is intercepted. There's an interception by Jack Ham, a diving catch in front of Pete Banaszak at the 23-yard line.
Eventually, Terry Bradshaw found Lynn Swan in the back of the end zone for what proved to be the winning touchdown.
Bradshaw is back. Looking, firing. Swan takes it in the end zone for a touchdown. Lynn Swan coming down and beating his man Alonzo Thomas on a diagonal, running to the post in the end zone, takes the pass for the touchdown.
Oakland was able to counter with a George Blanda field goal, but on the Raiders' next possession, the steel curtain put such pressure on Ken Stabler that he threw another interception, this time in the direction of J.T. Thomas.
Here's Stabler back to throw, firing long. Look out, there's the open man. Intercepted at the 40-yard line. J.T. Thomas coming over the 50, the 45, the 40, the 35, the 30, still running. He needs a block, and he's caught at the 25-yard line.
Then, after moving the ball to the Raiders' 21-yard line, Franco Harris, who rushed for 111 yards this day, finished off the Raiders.
Bradshaw gives the ball to Franco. He breaks over the middle. He's running the 10, the 5, a touchdown, Pittsburgh. Franco Harris broke over the right side, cut back to the left, and galloped into the end zone. He carried it 21 yards for the touchdown.
Now it became just a matter of time as the Steelers won their first AFC championship.
Franco Harris, with that touchdown run, upped his total yardage to 112 yards. Dwight White just went off the field, leaping in the air. Mad Dog doing a dance. Rocky Blyer, 18 carries, 96 yards. And you cannot, under any circumstance, overlook the way these two running backs have played. Stabler's back. The clock will run out as he throws into a crowd of people at the 50-yard line, intending to pass for Charlie Smith. That pass is incomplete. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all over. The crowd running onto the field, surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers as they come to the near side to leave and go down to their dressing room. The Steelers have captured the American Football Conference Championship. It is the first time that they have marched to a league title in the history of the club.
The Steelers were in the Super Bowl. What seemed like a remote possibility in the early weeks of the season was now a strong and vivid reality. Their opponents on Sunday, January 12th at Tulane Stadium in New Orleans were the Minnesota Vikings, NFC champions, Super Bowl veterans, making their third trip to the postseason classic in the last 6 seasons. The game was billed as a battle of defenses, and that is just what it turned out to be, at least in the first half. Neither offense could seem to get on track. The Steeler defense totally throttled the Viking offense. While the Viking defense did bend a little, it never broke. The first points in the ballgame were scored when Viking quarterback Fran Tarkenton missed on a handoff to Dave Osborne at the Viking 10-yard line and was forced to take a dive in the end zone.
Tarkenton calling the signals. And here's Tarkenton handing it off. There's a fumble. The ball is loose. Tarkenton goes for it in the end zone. It's an automatic safety. 2 points. The handoff was bobbled and went back into the end zone. Tarkenton recovered it to prevent the touchdown. As Lambert came in to cover him, it was an automatic safety.
The Steelers forged into a 9-0 lead when Bill Brown of the Vikings fumbled the second-half kickoff. Marv Kellum recovered, and the Steelers, behind Franco Harris, who was to be the game's most valuable player after rushing for a record 158 yards, moved in for the score.
And Bradshaw giving it to Harris, getting a key block from Mullins, running to the left, turning the corner. He's in there for a touchdown for Pittsburgh. Jerry Mullins giving the block. Mullins pulling and blocking for Franco Harris. Harris running wide to the left, swung into the end zone for the touchdown, and the Steelers are on the board with their first TD of the afternoon.
This was not to be the Vikings' day. No matter how hard they tried to score offensively, they could not do it, mainly because the Steeler defense, while holding Minnesota to only 119 yards total offense, was also coming up with the big crucial play.
Tarkenton looks and fires down the middle, and there it's broken up. Taken out of the air by Bill Blood, coming over the 5, the 10. The pass was in the arms of John Gilliam. He was hit and the ball squirted straight up in the air. Bill Blood pulled it in. The hit was made by Glenn Edwards, the free safety. And Tarkenton rolls left. Tarkenton looking, now throwing blocks again, taken out of the air. White blocked it. Joe Green took it out of the air for the interception, and now penalty marker goes down.
The only way Minnesota could get on the board was in the third quarter when the Vikes broke through to block a Bobby Walden punt.
Walden's waiting. There's the snap of the football. And it is blocked. Bobby Walden's punt is blocked, and it's in the end zone for a Minnesota touchdown. Barry Brown recovered it in the end zone.
But the Steelers salted the game away in the fourth quarter when they moved 66 yards in 11 plays. One of the big plays of that drive was a clutch third down pass reception by unheralded Larry Brown.
Bradshaw is ready to go. Got 2 yards to go on third down. He's going to pass. And Terry Bradshaw fires. And it's caught at the 40. Holy smokes, Glenn Edwards is down to the 30-yard line. And his Larry Brown has fumbled the football, and the Vikings are recovered. Larry Brown caught it. And they're saying it is Pittsburgh's ball. The ball was blown dead. 31-yard pass and run. The defensive man overplayed. Jeff Wright tried for the interception. It sailed over his head. I got so excited I had Glenn Edwards catching it. Edwards was on the sidelines. Larry Brown caught it. took it to the 28. He lost it, but it was dead when he hit the ground. So the completed pass takes it to the Minnesota 28-yard line.
And it was Brown who was on the eventual end of a Terry Bradshaw 4-yard touchdown pass that gave the Steelers a 16-6 lead.
Bradshaw steps under center. Here is Bradshaw rolling right. Bradshaw gets a big block and fires into the end zone, complete for the touchdown, hitting Larry Brown in the end zone. He got a great block from Franco Harris. And they had to protect against Bradshaw continuing on to the end zone.
That touchdown was the final nail in the Vikings' coffin. Now all that was left was to count down the seconds and for the Steelers to enjoy their first National Football League championship.
So now the clock continues to turn. And you got the countdown to a championship. Down to 12 seconds. People in the stands are chatting. Minnesota knows the time has run out. Tarkenton turns to go off the field. It's all over. And listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. Time has run out. The Steelers are the Super Bowl champions of 1975.
After 42 years, the Steelers were finally champions of the NFL. Gone were the victory-starved days of yesteryear. Gone were the bitter memories and the inept jokes about the same old Steelers. In their place was the satisfied feeling of a winner. To Art Rooney, Chuck Noll, the players, and the fans of the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was a long time coming. But in the end, it was well worth the wait. From the first day of training camp, Chuck Noll had sold his team on the philosophy, whatever it takes. Noll got exactly what he asked for, and they took it all.